Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. I'm the Gamer's Digester, and today we have some pretty big news. If you guys are familiar with the Spawn Wave channel, definitely go check them out, but that's where I got my information for today. I'll be linking that video that I watched in the description. I feel like they covered a lot of information, and there was a lot that I really wanted to kind of expand on myself and just kind of follow down some rabbit holes. But the big news is the Nintendo Switch 2, or whatever you want to call it, whatever it will be. There's not really a lot of information out about it yet, but the Switch Pro, whatever, just Nintendo's new console is in the works. Of course it's in the works, but it is being actually sent out, and I'll kind of describe that a little bit better in a second here, but it's being sent out to game developers and such to kind of get their hands on the hardware and see what they can do as far as game development and whatnot. Take a look at what they're working with. So, and what I mean is they're not receiving something like this. What they're receiving is probably a box, maybe a computer case type thing with some hardware on the inside. The hardware will be very similar to what we'll actually end up getting. Maybe some few tweaks and stuff here or there, but it is actually getting out to people. Now, what was said in that video was that the controls/controller is very under wraps. And there's a few things that I think we can take away from that, and a few things that I'd like to expand on. Sorry, hiccup there. So if we actually take a look at Nintendo as a whole and what they've done for the gaming community and just the kind of market itself, is they continue to push and expand on what we thought was possible. We've seen that with the Wii Remote, we've seen that with the Game Boy DS, all these innovative devices that have eventually led us to stuff like the Steam Deck or the Asus ROG Ally. If you're used to my channel, I know this video might seem a little bit different, but I'd love to kind of cover a whole lot of different handhelds, not just the Ally. But they have allowed, through not necessarily technology, this is, yes, a very incredible piece of technology, but as far as what is available, it's a little dated. But the one thing that I found very interesting throughout the whole video was that the controls and the /controller are kind of shrouded, and they're trying to keep that on the down low. Now, one, that makes me very nervous, and I'll kind of get into that right now. So we've gone through various stages of video game peripherals, all kinds of accessories, fishing things that'll attach on your controllers. I mean, there's only one here that I'll mention that I miss and I wish would come back, but Guitar Hero's the one that I miss. I'll get it out of the way. But all these other kind of weird things that you'll see at thrift stores in the gaming section, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that somebody actually green-lighted that and it went through for one video game or whatever. But in essence, it would just attach onto the controller. It wasn't the actual controller itself. Now, where they're kind of trying to keep the controls and controllers a mystery, that's a little bit worrying to me. An argument has been made a couple times, and this argument I feel like is just not a good argument at all. It is that the controller is a big barrier to entry. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but let's dive into that, shall we? So the argument that a controller is a barrier to entry makes sense to me if I were to hand it to my mom and ask her, hey, you want to play some COD? I'm looking to squad up. Let's go play Warzone, right? Like if I handed her a real gun and told her to do the same thing, she'd probably have just as hard of a time. So there are certain games that just won't make sense to people, even if you had a Neuralink into their brain. But let's just say, right, that I wanted to play Warzone with my mom and the controller was a bit too confusing. What are we going to use? The Kinect or something? Which is kind of my biggest point against this whole thing. We've came so far with our controls. We started out with the little NES things, and we've kind of evolutionized a bit here up until the greats with the PS5 controllers. This is one of my all-time favorites, not only for the looks, the feel. I love the button triggers more than I do anything, but I digress. But there are a lot of things that we've improved on over the years, and I think there's not much to get better. I'll just say that here. I might eat these words, but we'll see. Because the last time that we had heard from a major game developer that the controller was a barrier to entry was what I mentioned earlier, was the Kinect. If you're not familiar with what that device is, that is a camera type scanner. I can't remember the exact technology that it uses, but it pretty much shoots like photons and shiz at you to get a good like visual representation of your body, and you can play Just Dance or baseball or some other thing. I mean, I don't like those games, so I won't trash talk them too hard, but I barely think you can call them games, if I'm being honest. They're just kind of like things that you would normally do in real life that you could do, but you're kind of coping and you're just playing alone in your basement. Like, you could go play golf. There's not really much stopping you. You could go use a stick and a rock. Like, do we really need to be able to do that in a non-precise way on a Wii? That's up to you. I didn't necessarily grow up playing the Wii all that much. I played at friend's house. Feel free to roast me for that opinion. I'm open to change. I'm not going to die on that hill, but I feel like a lot of these games aren't like super big games that the Kinect was using. Now, the Wii remote is a vastly different story, right? That was such a versatile tool that everyone can agree with. I feel like was one of the all-time greats. You had your nunchuck, so you could play with one hand holding it and then have the nunchuck in the other. I think that the Nintendo Joy-Con has vastly improved on its capabilities. You're able to dock it with the device and then take it places. I think one of the greatest things about a Joy-Con is the ability to be sitting next to somebody and just say like, hey, you want to play? Hand this over. It's the reason I actually found out and kind of got into handheld gaming was in my high school class, there was someone who sat in front of me during our break hour to do homework, and he was playing Smash Bros. And he offered me a Joy-Con to play Smash Bros with him. And that's where this whole thing started is oh my gosh, like I have to have a Switch now. Like that is such this game is fun, but just that portability and the ability to just kind of connect with somebody I found fascinating. So ever since then, I've been really hooked on the idea of detachable controllers that work seamlessly. And the Joy-Cons are 10 out of 10, some of the best. Regardless of what you feel about the stick drift, I've had 4 pairs, haven't had a single one with stick drift. But yeah, along those lines is, what do you guys think they can improve on something like this, right? We've got a very compact design. We've got our D-pad, right? Triggers that for a lot of people, this just comes second nature. You hand me a controller, it just fits in my hand really well. There's not much to complain about. As far as what I was saying earlier, barrier to entry, it's with anything. No one's going to throw me into an airplane and just expect me to know how to fly, right? Like I can't use, even if I could use a direct link from my brain, from my spinal cord, there is not really, like it just is foreign, no matter what you do. And that's the fun in it, right? Like if you're to pick up a game like Counter-Strike and you're used to Call of Duty or you're used to any other shooter, you're going to feel like an actual like newborn baby. You don't understand anything. Your shots aren't hitting. It's super foreign, but that's the fun, is feeling like an alien on Mars and you don't understand anything and learning how to do it. Like there's great satisfaction in being able to master a control like this. And even this is what I feel is the easiest way to get into gaming. We've got our keyboard and mouse gamers out there who feel superior. I absolutely agree with you in certain games, but then there's other ones where it's just a whole different playing field. You've got your flight sims, you've got your racing sims, stuff like that, where you don't necessarily want to buy a whole kind of contraption, you know, set up your whole room with hydraulic desks and stuff. So you've got your controller and it just does so many things so well. I hope that the Nintendo Switch 2, Switch Pro, whatever you want to call it, actually does something in a way that is not harmful to its core audience. If they make the controls, the joysticks, Joy-Cons, whatever, if they do something weird, you guys, I don't know how innovative and how weird they're feeling, but they have to know that with how successful the Switch has been, that they don't need to do that. Now, there's one of two things I can see them doing that could be a little controversial, right? They could maybe add some sort of camera device to a dock or to something maybe to help you interact without the need of controls, which in my opinion would be very sketchy because this has connection to the internet and we all kind of enjoy our privacy. I don't think having a camera facing children in your living room or wherever would necessarily be a good idea. I feel like that would be a fantastic way for a lot of really bad stuff to happen, regardless of if kids or whoever are involved. I just don't think adding a camera to a device like this is a smart idea. Feel free to share your opinion down below, but I just don't think that would be welcome in my house. Besides that, this already has gyro. This already has pretty much everything that you could need. So I don't know if they're just trying to change up the form factor. I think I'll end my thoughts with this, right? The Nintendo Switch is probably one of the best-selling handheld consoles / just consoles in general ever. Would you guys just like to see it in the exact same form factor, same size, same everything, just better hardware and maybe a bit better battery? I would absolutely spend $500 for something like that. I'd love to hear what you guys think. But if they offered one that had, say, I mean, what are we looking at here? 2017, 2015, when the actual, I believe it was 2015 or 16, when the actual hardware for this device was developed. I mean, we're looking at almost an entire generation now of a change of technology enhancements. And for what this is, I mean, being able to boot open games, switch games kind of on the go like that, I think for the time, this was revolutionary. And now we're to the point where everything else is caught up to the Switch. What new does it have to bring to the table? I pray to God that it is not some kind of motion control telekinesis technology. Please just keep Joy-Cons. Maybe make the joysticks a bit better. I don't know who's going to see this or if anyone is going to like this, what I'm saying. But yeah, that's pretty much where I'll leave the video. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on this. I'm excited. I know this isn't my normal content. I normally cover the Ally, but we're about a month out after the launch. I've kind of covered everything I wanted to, and we're looking forward to new big things. I'm excited, you guys. I'm very excited, and I encourage you guys to talk amongst yourselves. I'd love to hear about it. But with all that being said, I'm the Gamer's Digester. If you enjoyed today's video, I encourage you to subscribe, like, comment, you know the works, whatever. I post somewhat daily, kind of cooling off a little bit, trying to give everybody a break. I know, don't want to overload y'all, but keep it real. Peace out.